All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here and thank you for being on time. Apologize for starting 8 minutes late. We had a little open traffic, so we like to start on time. Thank you for being here. We also are streaming on Facebook. C.W. Whitaker does a great job. He's a community icon, and so he comes. Let's give him a round. He always comes and streams any of our sessions. For those who don't know, my name is Casey Thomas, former Mayor Pro Tem and Council member. But tonight I serve as the founder of Our Vote is Our Voice, which is a nonprofit organization focused on voter registration, education, voter turnout, and then now legislative advocacy. And so we do this every third Wednesday right here at 6:30. So make sure you let your family and friends know. We may look at a different day of the week because we didn't want, we know some people go to Bible study things on Wednesday, so we may look at a different day. But I've already talked to the executive director here, Taylor Torrance, about next year, so we will renew. So every third, it'll be either Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. We'll make sure you get the information. We will be here, and we will have forums on relevant topics to our community. We've done this now for a whole year, and so I'm excited about it. But I'm honored this evening to have two special guest individuals who really give us some insight from our perspective about what's going on as it relates to politics and policy. And I want to welcome back Ms. Berna Steptoe. You see her, I record it every Sunday morning, Inside Texas Politics. She is the program director. Producer. Come on, somebody. She is the producer, absolutely. And so we are so glad to have her with us. She's also a member of Zeta Phi Beta sorority. And so we do have representation from the Divine Nine that is here. And so thank you for coming back. We had her one-on-one at the end of the primary, talking about the results of the primary. And we said we had to have her back, asked her back this year. And then my good friend Stephen Dow. Stephen is with Fox 4. Stephen covers the legislature. He's a member of Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity. And we are really excited to have you with us. And hopefully this won't be the last time. We're going to have a real frank conversation and discussion. We know a lot of people are still going through different stages of grief and disappointment. I've been talking with a lot of people. There are many people. You may not be, but there are many people who are really, really dealing with the outcome of the election and their disappointments. But we have to be prepared for what's ahead. And that's where we're going to start. So tonight, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask them maybe about 4 questions, and then the rest of the time is yours. We want to be respectful of your time. We usually hold about an hour. We started at 6:38 at the latest. We want to be finished by 7:38, 7:45 at the absolute latest. So thank you for being on time. And no question is a dumb question. We have a very orderly way in which we do this. You will have an opportunity to ask your questions. And once I finish with them, I will explain the process for how we do Q&A, and then we will get started. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with our first question. Our first question is really, really simple and to the point, but it's something that we need to hear. And I'm going to ask the same question to both of you. Were you surprised by the outcome of the election nationwide and in the state of Texas? So we'll start with ladies first.
Definitely so. Is it? Hello?
Nope.
Hello?
Nope.
I'll start and then if they turn it on. Can you hear me?
Yes. Sit up, can you hear?
Yes.
Great.
You know, I was surprised by the presidential election, and I was more so surprised by the depth of that the Republicans won swiftly. And that was a surprise because I thought that Vice President Harris would win at least one of those states. One of the background states. So I was definitely surprised that Now, as far as the senatorial race, the Senate race, I never called that because I was not, it was just, I would have been surprised had Democrats calling Auburn actually won. But if you were looking at, and definitely how you interpret polls, if you did polls or whatever, but even the chatter. See, the narrative, we even had some of the conservative Republicans telling us that Ted Cruz is in trouble. But if you're looking at the history of Texas, and then also you're looking at a popular president, then I wasn't comfortable saying that Cruz would lose, and I was not necessarily comfortable saying that he would win. So I wasn't surprised. Now I was surprised at the percentage, how far he did win. But keep in mind that President-elect Trump won by 14 percentage points. So that was a double digit, and then Cruz won by almost 9%, which was just. But that's another question. I'm sure our take on the messaging and whatever. So I'll let Steve give you his surprise or not.
We're gonna work on the mic, so I'm gonna just project. Surprised by the general, yes. Just from the standpoint of, even though Vice President Kamala Harris came in with 100 days to campaign, it seemed like Democrats had new life. And we'll talk about this, but it's not so much. A lot of the conversation had been, is she going to get undecided voters? And I think every election cycle, we kind of talk about undecided voters so much, and it always just really comes down to turnout, or which party is turning out more. And President-elect Donald Trump got people to come out more. We can talk about the strategies. There were some unique strategies and some topics that weren't the highest priority to voters, but it swayed voters in reference to gender politics. I'm from Atlanta, and I go home regularly. And man, you being home, I heard the same Charlemagne the God transgender ad went about the 5th time today. Wow. And so that impacted some turnout, impacted some people. Some men not wanting to elect a woman, some women not wanting to elect a woman. So from the national standpoint, yeah, I was a little shocked. From the Texas standpoint, it's a little different because we'll get into it. It's still Texas, and when you started seeing the trend from the early results on the East Coast, kind of tell you how Texas may go when it comes to Republicans winning. So I know we'll get into it. The Senate race didn't shock me. It came down to turnout, and Colin Allred needed more turnout, and while he edged Cruz in Tarrant County, which was really important, he needed Dallas County to overperform, Harris County to overperform. Those, when Rick Perry's got blueberries and tomato soup, he needed those areas to overperform. That didn't happen.
And I'm sure you'll ask the question, because I can get questions about the strategy.
That's my bonus. You can go ahead and go with it now. I think that's important. Strategies, topics. Yeah, let's go with that.
From the beginning, when I talked, the last time I was here, I talked about how Colin Allred had to make up over 1 million votes. Mm-hmm. But what was so interesting is how his campaign came out of the gate. It was as if he was running as an independent instead of a Democrat.
Right.
It was, and that was the conversation. Politics 101. You excite your base, you work your base, you get your base out first. Well, what Colin Allred did was he started focusing on trying to get the independents, trying to get the Republicans who were dissatisfied with Cruz, and as if he wasn't even concerned about Democrats. And when I think that he realized, okay, I'm going to have a problem, he started trying to coordinate the campaign with Democrats, and then he started trying to run, he went to the Democratic convention, but by then, it was almost, I never want to say too late or whatever, because this is politics, but the focus should have been solidifying his base and getting his base out. Instead, he was on another tangent and avoiding the vice president. It's just amazing on how he tried to, which didn't work.
And bouncing off of that, and you know, we all Monday morning quarterback everything. I mean, some people, you know, they can come here shouldn't rain. Like, all right, we're past that now. But as it pertains to the Senate race in Colorado, the strategy is a thing that, you know, I was talking about for weeks and weeks and weeks because, you know, you have to look at the makeup of the state that you're campaigning in, right? So, you know, while Beto O'Rourke came 3 points shy of beating Ted Cruz in 2018, I think Allred tried to come out saying, I'm going to be the exact opposite of Beto, right? Where Republicans attack Beto for being so extreme in their words, or, oh, hell yeah, I'm going to take your guns. Like, that freaked out some Texans. And so I think the initial strategy for Allred was, all right, let me make sure I'm not this guy. And Allred's just not that guy. He's just a chill guy. He's not Beto O'Rourke. And so, to your point, then when you started hearing conversations, because I mean, everyone's poll is wrong. Like, I think Texas Politics Project, and I'll give them some credit, their last poll said Cruz is going to win by 7. And I was like, this is the only poll that said, like every other poll was closer. And their last poll said 7. But the last thing I'll say so you can get to your next question is the abortion topic, right? While that could have been a good Democrat strategy, well, ended up not being, but a good Democrat strategy in swing states, it didn't play well. And not even about, you know, not playing well with men, but clearly some women. That was not their main topic of concern when they went to the polls. And so, I mean, if you heard Democrats campaigning, all you heard was the abortion topic. So they were betting on the anger firing up with women, and clearly some women, that was not what their main concern was.
Absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, I mean, I think as you talked about strategy, you talked about messaging, all of that was important. And as we see, you know, those were not the most effective methods and strategies that could have been applied to bring about the change that was hopeful. Go ahead.
And one thing that I have as a student of politics is you do your inside polling, your messaging, you go out and you sample the messaging. And it's just amazing that in the state of Texas that they didn't sample that message, that they didn't at least see how it played in the state of Texas. Because that's one thing, you know, most of the comments and the narratives was that nobody knows Colorado. But I'm like, well, you have millions and millions of dollars. By the time you get to the election, they should know. But then it was his campaign. It was the lack of campaigning as well, I think. And then you said that, you know, what, Monday night quarterback, remember we get paid.
Yeah.
We get paid to Monday night. And we're not always right now.
The bounce off her again is you mentioned strategy, right? And testing strategy. Republicans, and let me be very clear, this is not the only reason why Democrats lost. On the gender politics topic, Ted Cruz people saw that Trump, it was playing well with the transgender ads and all this stuff. And then you saw Ted Cruz's whole campaign was just about transgender, and girls and boys bathroom and stuff like that. And so clearly Republicans did some focus groups, and they said it played well, and it played well nationwide.
And they've been playing it for every election cycle. Every election cycle. That's what they've been talking about. And so they didn't deviate from it. And as you said, this is not the only reason that Democrats lost now. And I think that the Republicans just ran a good campaign. They understand the voters. They have the structure, the infrastructure that's needed, and they do well. And you just have to give them their kudos. They do well in politics, and they understand things.
I want to acknowledge a couple of members of our leadership team for our Vote Out Boys. Ben Jackson, who's been roaming around. Ben is is our voter education coordinator. So me and him sit down and we think about what are topics that are relevant to our community, and every month Ben leads our effort in that. So let's give Ben a round of applause. And then Ruben is our voter mobilization coordinator. Our great event that we had a packed the polls, we decorated cars and had everybody drive. We drove around in neighborhoods where we have low impact voters and encouraged them to go out and vote. That was one day. But Ruben most recently has been elected. He's our president-elect of the Urban League Young Professionals. Thank you, Ruben, for your leadership. And thank you for definitely stepping up and doing that. We had some heart-to-heart talks about that, and I'm glad you decided to go forward. And you will provide great leadership succeeding the current leader, the member of our leadership team, Sean Reed. So I want to acknowledge you and thank you for that. And then Ms. Molly Bell, thank you for continuing to be a staple in our community. Her nonprofit has been a fiscal agent. We do a lot of voter outreach. We've been able to get funding to do phone banking and block walking, and Molly's organization has been for that. And the Office Examiner is a staple in our community. So it's my next question. What's next? What's
I'm
next?
telling you what's next.
All right.
No,
Go ahead.
are we talking about Texas?
Oh, we're talking about Texas and DC.
Texas is school vouchers.
Okay.
That's what's next in my opinion.
All right. So tell us a little bit in terms of, before we do vouchers in DC, because we're seeing with these recommendations for cabinet members, President-elect Trump is doing exactly what he said he was going to do. People who were authors of Project 2025 are being appointed to positions in his cabinet. And so, from a DC standpoint, and Ms. Berna, if you feel more comfortable leading with that, you can. Or either way, let's talk just a little bit about DC, and then we're going to drill down to Texas, because I got some special personal interest in this upcoming legislative session. So, talk a little bit about DC first.
I mean, from a DC standpoint, and right now we're just talking about the confirmation, upcoming confirmation of his cabinet positions. I think the one that everybody's really been talking about is the Attorney General one, Matt Gaetz. Today, the House committee met and could not reach a decision on if they were going to release the report. A little politics, one-on-one. So Gaetz resigned his position because committees typically, it's happened before, but committees typically do not release an ethics report on a private citizen. And because he is no longer a congressman, at the moment he is a private citizen, so that's the reasoning Republicans are using to say that they cannot release this. Texas Senator John Cornyn and some other Republicans say that they think it is needed to have that information. But like literally what you said, I mean, I'm not shocked by anything that's been going on in the last 2 weeks because people are getting exactly what they voted for. So nothing has shocked me yet.
And nothing is going to shock us if we believe and remember who our president-elect is. Because if anybody who thinks that his appointees are not going to get through, they have not been watching politics in the last 8 years. Now, Gaetz might have some issues, but I would be very surprised if he doesn't get through confirmation, he will be the only one. And then they'll use him as a punching board because they'll say, okay, you should remember they started out saying that a president is entitled to get their appointees. They're entitled to do that. Although they didn't do that for Democratic presidents. But President, I'm not surprised by anything, and I will not be surprised by anything that comes out of D.C. You just might as well get ready for it, and for the next, especially the next 2 years, where they might be able to change some of the elections during the midterms, change some of those representatives. But Trump is, and he's already said, okay, if you all don't give me who I want, then I'm going to primary and coming up in 2 years. He's already said. So, yeah, we're going to see a completely different America. And you know what, and I hate to say this, but it's the truth. He has a mandate. And his mandate, he won the popular vote and he won the electoral vote, electoral college. So now, the majority of the people say give him what he wants.
Right. So now,
I don't know if they know that they're going to get rid of it.
Right. So let's switch to Texas. I can tell you from personal knowledge, this freshman class is going to be one of the largest freshman classes in the state house that they're going to have. My fiance, State Representative Aisha Davis, has been back and forth to Austin all week in the past 2 weeks because what they're doing is they're getting them, for the first time, they're having committee work sessions. They haven't even appointed committees, but they have different committees where they're having the House members and the House member-elects to come down, and they're having sessions around healthcare, around workforce, child care. They're not having around education. But we're going to talk about that in a minute. So we'll start with you. What's on the horizon as it relates to the upcoming legislative session? It starts January 14th. It's right around the corner. So, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I led with vouchers just because, I mean, education is a topic that impacts everyone, in my opinion, regardless. I mean, I don't have children, but education is important. And funding has not been given to public schools in a number of years. And so there's an interest from a nonpartisan standpoint of just schools, regardless if they have red leadership or blue leadership, they want more money. And then Governor Abbott pushing through school vouchers. Some rural Republicans joined all Democrats in opposing it this last go around. That's not going to be the case this go around, in my opinion. Governor Abbott has the votes to pass it through. He primaried Republicans who opposed it. Some of those Republicans retired, some of those Republicans lost. Republicans in the House added 2 seats. And so it's a matter of will Democrats be able to work with those few Republicans who oppose it to sweeten the pot for public schools. But in my opinion, school vouchers is going to pass, and that's going to be a main priority for Republicans in Austin.
He's correct. But first of all, I think we should watch the speaker's race.
Okay.
See, the speaker's race is going to be crucial because now sources are telling us that Dave Phelan has the votes, but it's going to, if he does become speaker, you're going to have, there won't be any peace. And then there won't be any peace. Now, but that's the race you watch. And typically, the speaker is chosen prior to January, but the way that it's playing out now, it's not. And then they brought in former Governor Rick Perry to try to help it. But if Dave Phelan doesn't get it, then that's going to lessen Democratic influence because they're not going to have chairmanships. They will not have chairmanships. So, and then what's going to happen anyway, without those chairmanships, you're going to have a Republican agenda pushed through. Because you like I say, you picked up 2 seats in the House, you picked up a seat in the Senate, and the Senate is totally controlled by the conservative voice. So you're going to have a conservative voice nationally and locally. But the race to watch is that speaker's race. And that's going to set the tone for the rest of the session. And then vouchers, Governor Abbott has put in a lot of political clout, a lot of political money, a lot of everything to get school vouchers, and I cannot see it not being. I just cannot see it. And some Democrats are hopefully saying that they might be able to go in with some of these rural representatives. I don't think they have the will anymore. So the only thing that you can do as constituents is try to, and I've always said that if you have a Republican representative, that you need to be just as in contact with that Republican representative than if you have a Democrat, because they listen to those phone calls, those emails, and all of that. And perhaps you can get some kind of influence where those public schools will get their fair share, because the private schools are going to get their money. And then some of the private schools don't even want the money. because they don't want the governmental interference. So they don't want. So it's an interesting thing, but the race to watch right now is the speaking race.
Yeah, and I mean, Dave Phelan got 140 votes last time. Definitely not going to happen this time. All Democrats are likely going to vote for Dave Phelan, which would give him, I think he would only need 16 Republicans. I'm not great at math. I think we only need 16 Republicans. So North Texas Republicans are Dave Phelan loyalists, if you want to be honest. You got Jeff Leach in Plano, you got Morgan Meyer, you got Angie Chin Button in far north Dallas. And so it's a matter of, I mean, they've already said they're sticking with their man, but it's which Republicans are not, and that's going to dramatically set the tone for how this session's going to go.
If he becomes speaker, there will be a peaceful day in his life. But anyway.
It'll create a lot of fun for the
for us too.
That's really important, really important. I do want to take a minute and acknowledge how many members of the D9 organizations are present.
Oh.
All right. I want to thank Dr. Sylvia Perry, who serves as president of the Dallas MPAC. They were able to register over 1,000 new voters. So 2,000. Update. 2,000 new voters. And so that is critically important because we got to not only register people, but the next challenging point is get them out to vote. And that's why we do what we're doing now, because we've got to focus on educating people on what the issues are. So, my next question is, as we talk about the legislative session, and well, let me do this first. Do you? I know I watched the show. I know you talked about the propositions here in Dallas. You feel comfortable talking about the proposition? Okay, good. So let's talk about it. So there were 18 propositions that were on the ballot just for people that live in the city of Dallas, as relates to charter amendments, and several of them passed that people didn't expect to pass, and several were voted down that people thought were going to pass. And so I'm going to kind of drill in on a few, and I want to get your opinion. Were you surprised that the proposition to increase pay for city council and mayor didn't pass, but on the other end, the one to eliminate opportunities for former council members to be able to return did pass? Were y'all surprised about those? And my next question was, were you surprised that SMU passed? And that Proposition R, which would decriminalize marijuana, which went into effect yesterday. So that went into effect yesterday. So that no longer in the city of Dallas, and I've read the proposition. So what it says is police has to ignore the smell of marijuana, and there can be any funding from the city that goes toward testing any marijuana, and they cannot make, only if there's it leads to a felony case. Only in that situation can they consider marijuana here in the city of Dallas, and that has not been contested yet. We know the Attorney General has attempted, and he failed in a lot of cities that he's challenged. But let's talk about those amendments in particular, and there are any other ones, but those in particular, because I feel there's a strong anti-feeling about incumbents at City Hall, and I've had some conversations with current council members about that. So, Stephen, you can start.
Yeah, so the pay one, I mean, people think, you used to be in Horseshoe, people think y'all get paid too much, even though, I mean, $60,000 in the city of Dallas, in my opinion, is interesting. So I was a little shocked that failed, but I mean, some people think that, government officials already got it good, so y'all will be all right. The one that I really talk about is the police one. Because these propositions are written in a certain way, and everybody is not educated on them, and everybody's not going to sit there and read the whole thing when they click. And so, I mean, some people just saw, oh, more cops. They say, yeah, more cops, cool. And that's how some people voted. But the details of it, I mean, that can cause chaos in City Hall as far as tying up other resources and possible cuts and things like that. So we'll have to see that. And then I was shocked that it passed because it's not every day that you have the police chief, the police union, and council members all in agreement on something. And so I thought that may have swayed some voters, but clearly not. And then there was some reporting yesterday about some election issues where some City of Dallas voters did not have the right ballot to vote. And so I don't even know how that might impact the vote count or how it can even physically be challenged. Because you don't, well, I guess they might know which voters, but you know what I'm saying. There was thousands of votes where non-Dallas residents got a Dallas ballot and Dallas residents didn't get a Dallas ballot. And so I don't know, that could have impacted the vote because those votes could have came from some people who don't live in Dallas.
Well, I was totally surprised that the police passed, and I was surprised that the ability for citizens to sue. I was surprised. And the reason I was surprised is because all the city council people were against it. But if you watch closely, you didn't have them out actually campaigning to stop it. So and then we go back to messaging again. Where, as Steve said, some of the people thought they were just voting for more police, and then I was definitely not surprised that the pay didn't pass, because you know what? Remember, as most of the voters don't think that their council people are doing enough, so they definitely don't want to pay more. And but the police was a surprise to me. Because I just thought that you had all of the council people who were out, who were against it, and you had the former mayors or whatever. But then I made some phone calls afterwards, and the thinking was that the right people were not out there campaigning or whatever. Who are the right people? You're a city council person. You know, you're not out there pushing and campaigning. Who do you expect to do it? So,
What did the mayor say?
He said he was against, him and Councilman Middleton both did our bed in the morning news, and they both said they were against all 18.
so those were they crazy.
So before I go to my last question, and I told you I would give you a majority, we split the time either. Before I go to my last question, I want to acknowledge another member of our voters, our board leadership team, Crystal Bates. Crystal serves as our logistics chairperson. She's also president of the DFW Metro NAACP. So let's give Crystal a round of applause. My last question, and I think this question is something, if I was to say, what question would you want me to ask them? I think this would be the main question. What would you say to a first-time voter or a seldom voter whose candidate of choice did you?
I'll go first. Go vote again. Because you don't get the first choice all the time. And stay engaged. Because if we're dissatisfied or unhappy about everything we do, we'll never move forward. But I think that the mere fact that that person made a vote is crucial and important. Because we must vote, we must stay engaged, and if your person did, because you mentioned earlier that this is I don't remember an election like this where I actually saw elders crying.
Right.
Because they had put so much into it. And then what disappointed one lady the most was the fact that lower vote turnout. See, remember, Democrats did not go out in terms of matching the 2020 election. So you had and then Harris County, Dallas County, but I actually saw people crying over this election. And while I was moved in a positive way, because we need to be that involved and that passionate and whatever, but we cannot give up. We must keep voting, and we must be registering voters and turning them out. Because if not, then you'll never have a control or say over your life, because all your whole life is about politics. The city council people, the state representatives, and we're not engaged. And I'm not preaching, I'm just telling you what I do.
You preach that.
Amen.
But you cannot, you know what, and if it's not directly impacting you, it's impacting somebody who's close to you. Your water. And I want you all to watch something else too that should come up in this session. Because the Sid Miller, the agriculture commissioner, some of the state representatives, they're sounding an alarm that Texas is running out of water. Now, for a couple of weeks, you had a treaty which was signed again to get water. We're running out of water. So what do we ask our state representatives and our state senators about ensuring that we're getting the water we need, that Mexico is paying what it should? Everything that we do involves politics. So I'll let Steve take over there.
I mean, she preached, I'll just collect the offering. The only thing I would say to someone, and I'll be brief so people can ask questions, is, I mean, you don't take yourself out of the game unless you take yourself out of the game. You know, every drive ain't gonna be a 50-yard first down. You know, and so you don't lose until you take yourself out. And so I would say to a person who's candidate. That's why I was talking to my brother. My brother's 8 years younger than me, and his first presidential election was 2016. He went to Miles College in Birmingham, Alabama, and Hillary Clinton came to campaign on his campus. And after her speech, she grabbed his phone and took a selfie with him. And after that, up until 2020, he was talking to me about, he said, everyone I vote for loses. And luckily, we grew up in a household where we understand the importance of voting. For that election, he went to go vote in his first presidential election with our then 101-year-old grandmother. And so we understand voting. But for someone who's not as educated or is not as motivated, we got to communicate to them that, you know, just because you're candidate loses, that don't mean take yourself out of the game. Because there's another fight, and another fight, and another fight. Because everything we do is politics. Everything.
And I'm glad that you mentioned the propositions as well. Because we vote presidential elections, we vote midterm elections for our state rep governor, but these local elections are just as important because keep in mind about what's happening at the State Board of Education.
Oh, yes.
You know, now, I'm sure my mother would love to put the Bible back in schools where you say prayers and whatever. But some people don't. But those local elections are just as important as the national elections. Because those elections, they determine whether or not your trash is going to be picked up. It determines whether or not, it's just a lot of things. So pay attention to the local, the school board elections, city council elections. Pay attention to those elections as well, because they're just as important.
Absolutely, absolutely. Before I go to the audience, I want to make this statement. You talk about local elections. This May, for those of you who live in the city of Dallas, there are 4 open city council seats. City Council District 8, Councilman Tanel Atkins is term limited. District 4, current Mayor Pro Tem Tanel Atkins, former Mayor Pro Tem Carolyn Arnold is term limited as a result of the proposition that passed. Councilmember Omar Narvaez, who represents West Dallas, in that council district, he's term limited. And then Janie Schultz, who represents North Dallas, District 11, is term limited. So there are going to be 4 open council district seats. And I've seen from the inside and prior to being on the council from the outside, the time when you can have the most impact and those issues that are important to your neighborhood is when there's an open city council race. And I'm glad Marla's here. They're gonna know doing Monday Night Politics. I'm gonna put a plug in to be moderator since I'm off the council and I'm not making any endorsements. So that hopefully there'll be a possibility because we've got to make sure those candidates know the issues that are important to our community they have a response for that. So I want to let everyone know, those who live in the city of Dallas, you have an opportunity to play a role in electing 4 new council members out of the total 15 that's on the council. So at this time, I'm going to do something a little bit different, simply because of time. If you have a question, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3. Okay. I'm going to do things a little bit different. I'm going to give an opportunity, maybe 2 or 3 more people that have questions. We have approximately between 25 and 30 minutes. I'm going to be respectful of your time. And I want to try and even it out, because at forums like this, the audience normally doesn't get a chance to ask a question. Normally I have a tight and fast rule, and I say you get 30 seconds for a lead-in. But I'm going to do it a little bit different. I'm going to give you an opportunity to kind of elaborate on your question, but please make sure you have a question. Now, if you want to issue a statement, then that's fine, but let me know up front. I just have a statement to make. Don't let me think you're going to have a question and you want to give your opinion. I want to respect people's opinion. Because like I said, we're in a different venue, and we're honored to have these 2 who are with us, who are our community, who represent us in the media. So, whoever's first, raise your hand. Go ahead.
Okay, awesome. Who do I talk to?
No, this.
Talk out?
He's got you. He's excellent.
Okay, I know who I need to direct it to.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm Shanita Cleveland, and I call myself a Master Global Black Community Activist first for Black people. I do have a statement, but then I do want to end with a question. And I wasn't surprised at all, because I myself, since October 2023 to October 2024, registered 5,000 by myself. 5,000 new voter registrations. It's in print. And I already talked, that means I talked to millions of people. And so I knew the consensus. And I said early on to the Democrats, man, y'all gotta stop attacking him. It's sort of like in the local elections. Y'all say, don't attack them. I've heard it all the time. Don't attack them, just worry about your issues. And this is what has happened. And then they created a situation where the Lord Blacks connected to him, especially on the jail and prison and the police and all of that. So then this is where you went wrong. And on top of that, people get elected and then they act like they can't do nothing. Okay? Because we talked about every issue but a black issue. I didn't hear nothing about no black people when it is automatically assumed that because I am black, I'm gonna vote for you. And that is not the truth. I love his shirt, especially on the back side, because the only thing we got in this administration was a recommendation for the National Negro Anthem to become the national anthem, a part of it afterwards. When we got people dying right here in Dallas, I saw y'all lit the tree, and all I can think about, how many homeless people did they push away, blocks away, without a house to make sure they can light the tree without homeless around the city hall. And so I just believe that you cannot get good fruit from a bad tree. I'm not here to make friends, I don't care. I'm only here to be a bondservant of the kingdom of heaven. And it's all about how you treat your neighbor, not about what color you wear, because you can't take them into the light. So I'm just saying that we need to know that God is in control all the time, like we say in church, for real, but not only sometimes. Come on, let's tell the truth, somebody. Okay? And I knew they were going to lose because they didn't do nothing for blacks. I'm kind of happy because I would rather see a black through and through, a Negro woman that's got a black mom and a black daddy become that, and I believe God is agreeing with me. And I believe that, I just want to ask a question real quick. Why do people think we're mourning? When I accept it, if you win or lose, it doesn't matter, because I believe that God is in control. And that I think it's kind of the 3 branches are kind of the same in a sense, especially when I heard that gentleman crying in Florida for the hurricane, saying they're all alike, we're dying. They gave us $700, we're dying. So why do they think that because we're black?
Right, so if I heard your question right, you're saying, why do we feel that people are mourning as the results of the presidential election? Because they are.
Sort of like Joe Biden, because I know Lane Davis is Democrat in the ban system, and you look me up, it's a public record. But like when Joe Biden said, you're not black, you don't vote for me. That's what I'm saying. Where you automatically assume because I'm this color, I'm going to vote for you. Why is that?
Okay.
I'll start. I think Democrats, which shall have a majority of minority voters, right, historically. Some politicians, and I'm not a politician, I'm just talking from an observer standpoint, some politicians believe that they already have certain groups in the bank, right? And so it's I'm gonna campaign and cater to educated white women because they may help tip the scales for me. And so messaging is important, and not banking on, and I think Texas Democrats learned the hard way, not banking on the Hispanic vote, because that changed dramatically. And so to answer part of that, yeah, no one should campaign just assuming that one group of people are going to vote a certain way. In that same vein, why do some people feel like they're mourning and things like that? I think there was an energy in this election where, my first presidential election was 2008 when I was in college. This was kind of one of those moments for different sectors of people. And then you throw in not only a woman, but a woman of color. And so some people had different emotions attached to this race compared to other races. So I think it's a combination of things. But no Democrat, Republican, or whoever. I mean, Republicans shouldn't just believe that all white people are going to vote for them. But it is different when it comes to Democrats as far as not just assuming that a certain group of people are going to vote all their way, and then talking about issues that impact them. And I think, certain issues impact everybody. And so it's just a matter of what you think your strategy and your priorities.
Yeah, and I agree with everything you said, and at the same time I won't repeat it, but I will address this, that I think you mentioned something about, well, you didn't mention it, but I think that some politicians do just expect it and take it for granted and move on because we don't demand anything from them.
Oh, there we go.
We don't hold them accountable.
There we go.
No, they would say amen.
Amen.
No, it's a
We don't demand anything of them, and we'll go back to, do we ever contact their offices? Do we ever ask a question as to why something is not happening? You know what, I had a politician who's no longer alive now, but told me once, because this person supported somebody who I questioned why they supported. And this politician told me, he said, you know what? My people don't give money. The people who give money wanted that particular candidate. Now, I'm going to get the vote, but I need the money to get the vote. So I'm going to go with who's giving the money. So we have to examine how we're engaged and participating in politics as well. And then are we turning out in large numbers and voting for these politicians, and then not voting for the ones who don't have our interests in mind? We're voting for people who don't even have our interests in mind. Now, and I'm not saying it's Democrats, because none of us are represented by Republicans. So I think that's another. We don't hold them accountable and demand anything.
And I did, I looked at Dwayne, that's my demand. I left that race Dwayne.
And a number of Republicans are voting against their own interests. Yeah, it's about messaging.
That's right. I agree with that.
And that is not unique in politics. We vote against our interests. Sometimes they tell us what our interest is.
Tim.
Is there another lady who wanted to speak? Because I wanted to give the lady.
Okay, all right. I saw.
Because okay.
They gonna talk through your hand.
That's cool. I didn't want to get in front of you.
Yeah, no, go ahead, Tim.
So good afternoon. First and foremost, thank you all for being here. It means a lot to see members of the media come to the community and have these conversations, because oftentimes we feel like you all are out of touch. I don't personally. I have families in the media, but thank you for being here. And Stephen, I texted you, so I'm about to give you this question, all right? Well, my name is Tim Jackson. I am the president and founder of the first, only Black-owned, Black male-centered, Black child-centered, Black family-centered lobbying PAC that is established here in the state of Texas. Thank you, I appreciate that. You know, when you talk lobbying to Black people, it's a very foreign concept because we're never taught to lobby. We're actually just taught to give our vote to people and then hope and pray for the best. But what I want to ask is this. Why do we as Black people, specifically those in positions of power, albeit politicians, members of the media, clergy members, etc., why do we ignore lobbying as a whole, because I'm a member of the D9, and I saw all the hands that came up and saw members of the media here that are represented by paper. We raised, the D9 raised $3 million for Kamala Harris in 24 hours, and not one single demand was made in exchange for our money. Why do we not lobby? Why is it that we're not pushing that effort? Every other group collectively puts their money together, and they go to their representatives and say, we will give you our vote in exchange for this. But in the black community, we don't do that. We say, you're black, I'll vote for you. And when someone like me comes and stands up and says, enough is enough of that, you all, typically it's the D9 that shuns me and says, hey, get on board, my brother, and me and you in the same group chat, Casey. But to your respect, I can say you were one of the people that kind of said, no, let's listen to this brother. So that's my question for the two people here. And I also want to extend an invite to everyone on December the 7th at the African American Museum at 1 p.m. We are launching our lobby, the first black-owned, black male, black child-centered lobby that's going to focus on policy for black people. I'd like to invite you all. I'm sure some of you won't come because that ain't your thing, and I'm okay with that. But that's my question. All right, we'll go to the next meeting.
It's an excellent question. I think that we do what we know. And I don't think that there are enough lobbyists, and I wouldn't just say African American lobbyists, but a lot of times we see ourselves when we know. But I don't think that there are enough of lobbyists out there doing it. And as I said earlier, our mindset is not to demand. You know, we just accept that this is how it's going to be. But we do need more. It is highly profitable. Highly profitable. But, yeah, and that's something we should be teaching as well as going out and voting, teach that you need to demand. And then if you can't communicate or your messaging, find somebody that also you must deliver. See, if you're demanding something, okay, what are you giving in exchange? Now, typically, a politician, they should have your interest in mind anyway. But as a lobbyist, okay, I'm going to do this, and this is what you expect, well, you better deliver. Or when you go back, you might not have that door as open. But I think that that's not our site. You know, we're not trained or taught to go in and demand or give. You know, we're takers there. That we need to give. And giving is money. As I told you about one of my friends earlier. They don't donate. So in order for me to give out my message, or get my message out, I need money. So
Education and collaboration. A lot of minorities don't even know what a lobbyist job is. Right? A lot of white people might not know. So I don't want to just generalize brown people. But a lot of people don't know what a lobbyist is. And a lot of people don't know how essential that role is in getting what people want passed. And so if there's no collaboration on any group's effort, then it ain't gonna happen. And then the loudest squeaky is gonna get it. And for example, right now, the Republican flavor of the month is school vouchers. And that group has been the loudest voice. And Governor Abbott has exhausted a ton of political capital on getting that passed. That man has flown to North Texas so many times in just the last couple of months to campaign for candidates for this topic. Another thing that it's interesting that we sit on a maps court. Look at the money, right? Look at the money. Now this was a business decision. I totally believe it was a business decision. Mark Cuban selling his ownership to the Adelsons was a business decision. Mark Cuban, and you'll say it, he support him, and now some Republicans are for sports betting. They want casinos. It's about money. They want Texas to get this money. Why are Texans going to Oklahoma? Why are Texans going to Vegas when we got dope cities here and you could have casinos? If you look at the money, Adelson has donated money to Governor Abbott to serve people, not because she's a Republican, but because she's trying to get something that's her business to do. And honestly, I thought it was a really good chance to pass this last session where it passed the House. But Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick said if a majority of Republicans do not support any bill, I'm not bringing it up for a vote. Because he knows it can pass. Because some Republicans will join the now 11 Democrats to pass it. I mean, you had conservative Republicans pushing for sports betting casinos. Jeff Leach ain't no moderate. I mean, if you want to be really honest. Charlie Gary, the Fort Worth. I mean, those people were the people sponsoring these bills. And so I would just say it's not any education about it, and there's no collaboration about it. And people are going to get what they complain about. And let me rephrase what I'm saying. Because you made, but you made a good point. We complain a lot, but we're not turning the complaint into pressure. We complain, and then it just, oh, see, they ain't doing it. But they don't go to nothing else. We just complain.
And
So,
you know what?
I just want to fill, one part of the question wasn't answered yet, if that's okay. I just want to emphasize, because I want to give you all an opportunity. And you said something real, because anyone who knows me, I know Ruben knows me very well, we sit on the board together at Black Academy. I put up over $250,000 of my own money. I actually worked with Coral Cliff to bring programs to the city of Dallas, to Dallas Parks, the ISD. So I know people complain, but I'm not one of those. But the second part of my question is, because both of you touched on it, you say it's not something that we know, but the elected officials that we put in place, the black elected officials that we put in place, they know about lobbying. And what happens is when they get in place, they don't emphasize it because they're in and they know we're going to vote for them, and there's really no incentive for us to lobby because in most cases that's going to hold them accountable. So again, it goes back to accountability. How do we hold our elected officials who essentially tell us we have to vote for them or else we're not black accountable to get us lobbying factions? Because my goal, like I said, I put up $250,000 of my own money, is to go on a campaign to teach as many black people across the nation how to lobby and to convert our lobby into a super PAC by 2028. Raise $10 million in the first year, and we're gonna do it because we always do it. But most people don't get on board because it's unfamiliar, and the elected officials, they'll talk down on it because they understand the power behind
Let
it.
me just quickly jump in on that. Because
Sure.
before you start talking, I was going to say perhaps a definition of what it should be. But now, I'm going to go back to delivery.
Sure.
Because politicians depend upon votes. If you deliver votes that will either get them in office or get them out of office, you don't even have to call them. They will call you.
Right.
And that's lobbying, but lobbying is typically a special interest or politics, whatever. They're going to seek you out or you seek them in, and they pay you to go out and push an issue. But you must deliver. Now, in terms of if you want something out of them that they're not going to necessarily hire you, but if you go in and say, okay, if this doesn't happen, then we can deliver these particular votes that will knock you out or push you to a runoff.
Exactly.
Then you don't even have to call them because they'll call you the next time.
Exactly. That's what we're doing.
But you must deliver. Now you can't talk. And you can't say I'm going to do this, I'm going to, and you don't, they can't even see an imprint of what we do in the next election. But I think this,
Yeah, no, I got it.
But
Go
you
ahead,
have to
Ike. All right.
Let me see.
Now, I see two hands over here.
To this, when y'all talk about the charter propositions, I sit on the charter commission. I was a charter commission, and they stacked the deck against us in the first place. How they picked the charter review commissioners, so that was already stacked against us. And one thing that they did do is, you talk about voting in local elections. They waited on the state of Texas to approve it, but they voted to move the Dallas City Council election to November instead of May, instead of keeping it separated. Now, my question is not about that. I just wanted to say that. And you talk about how we stay divided and how we can't get our people, politicians, like he said, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. Well, what happened to us, the largest black organization in America is the church, the black church. And Republicans figured out how to divide us by saying, if you vote for Kamala Harris, you're voting for homosexuality and you're voting for abortion. And it's spread that through the church, like if you vote for Kamala Harris, you're not a Christian. or you voting against God. And we fell for the open door. So we rather have a racist, you know, in leadership, because we wouldn't vote for homosexuality and we wouldn't vote for abortion. We was voting for equality, but we went for the open door. So when we look at what's going on with us, we can't hold black politicians accountable. When I hold you accountable, then you tell me I'm fighting against the black movement. I'm fighting against black folks. I'm Willie Lynch. So we got to quit playing games with each other. Because right now, we're talking about what I'm trying to say, they want to pass this law where they get what you call the vouchers. That's about killing public education. That's the whole thing, is to kill public education. Because in Oak Cliff, where I live at, charter schools popping up like mushrooms out of the rain. And they study putting them up. They're not doing that in North Dallas. And they're telling us that can't teach history, you can't teach black history. But now they're circling around in Texas, and now they want to put the Bible back in the classroom. But they want to put their version of the Bible. It ain't going to tell you that Abraham was black. It's going to tell you Abraham was white. So my question to both of you, me personally, you might get an answer to this question because of your job. This was one of the most racist elections I ever seen in my life, and I'll be 70 in December. And I say that because the whole issue that we can talk about everything and come up with all these scenarios, the whole issue was protecting white privilege and white supremacy. Now, you don't have to agree to that, but I say you work for white folks. And that's not a knock against you.
I mean, I partially heard the question. I mean, he said this was a racist vote. Like, you said it was a racist election.
What is racist? Because there was a video about
Are you talking about the top
white
of the
people
ticket?
standing in power.
You talking about top of the ticket or just across the board?
Across the board.
Okay.
And Clark, when you asked them, do they agree with that? I was just.
I can't ask them that because, you got them on Facebook.
You can ask whatever you want to ask.
No,
but I'm not going to
They don't ask you to answer. You can answer. That's what
No, but I can answer part of it. From the top of the ticket standpoint, we just talked about Kamala Harris. And granted, every election has multiple reasons, right? We can talk about this for hours on end. What stood out to me from 2 weeks ago, some people still don't think this is race and gender. Some people don't think a woman can lead the country. And I think Kamala Harris and Democrats are banking on the abortion issue driving women, and those women were going to vote on that. And some women, now granted, we can sit here and call out black men and call out Hispanic people. It was a combination of things. But it also goes to some of those Latino men, some of those black men, some of those white women, all collectively. Some of them didn't think a woman could lead, regardless if she was white or black. Yeah. And so all of that together works against you. And so regardless of the topics or the policies, I mean, I think some of these numbers turned out the way they did just based on gender. That don't answer the question, but I wanted to say it because, I mean, let's be real. People make decisions at the end of the day saying, I don't know if she can do this.
But you know what? And I agree with that. I agree with everything you said. But you know what? We don't have to question what the atmosphere was at the top of that team.
Yeah.
We understand dog whistles. We understand that when you say the Haitians who are black are eating dogs and cats, we understand that. But here's the question we ask ourselves. Did we motivate enough people to go vote for the difference? And our numbers, and looking at our numbers, and we're going to look at, because most of us do vote Democrat now, and the numbers are down. So if we see what's happening at the top ticket and we don't vote, then
Let me jump in real quick, and I think I know my frat brother Ben enough that he won't get mad if he repeats something he said to me at church 2 weeks ago. Now, granted, yes, registering people to vote, dope, perfect. Every election is about driving out your base, right? We have 18 million, almost 19 million voters in Texas now. About a little more than 11 million voted, and so we still had 7.5 million that didn't vote. So, yeah, you're answering the question of, okay, we need to register more people, but Ben also said to me, what about the people who didn't turn out? And so, we preach to the choir a lot. Everyone in here seems informed. And I think we get so comfortable talking to who we know is going to show up to listen, that we talking to the wrong people. We're not talking to the people who didn't go vote and ask them why didn't they go vote, and try to see if you can convince them to vote next time.
Very good.
we gotta vote.
So we have time for 2 more questions. We'll squeeze the third one in. That's going to be here. Either Ben or Crystal can go first, and then Loretta.
So I have just a couple of comments, a couple of things you mentioned. I really would like to mention the finance. As we all have discussed, and I'm going to make an assumption, I know this is not a partisan space, but probably the majority of people probably voted for the Democratic Party. But again, that's why I said the majority.
Right.
I would love to see our local reporters at the news stations to do an in-depth study of the finances for both parties, particularly for both. I'm in conversations, and I hear that the Democratic Party spent $31 billion in this space for, I think, west of south of the Trinity, possibly. I think a lot of our nonprofit organizations, the organizations that are doing grassroots work, did not get it. So it seems to, this gentleman mentioned the racism. It really seems that we have allowed the Democratic Party, or even any party, to get us to run and do canvassing, phone banking, text banking, and not pay us anything for doing that. I did not ask my members to do that anymore, because it's not fair for them to spend money in these other communities and not invest that money in the people that are on the ground doing the work. I'm not saying some of these organizations or individuals didn't get funding, but the majority of us did not. It's not just for political stuff, from a non-pocket stance. Even we are discriminated against when it comes to funding. We got the city of Dallas and some of these major institutions, when they get the money, it does not come from black and brown people that are on the ground doing the work. And then, furthermore, from my understanding, the $30 billion that I'm referring to, they spend it on school salaries and the rest on media, versus dispersing it in the community so we can't afford to do what they're asking us to do to get these folks out of government. When they don't want to provide resources, we don't have the money for the flyers, we don't have money to pay the volunteers something. These people are working all day and then having to come through all of this Anderson phone banking and this and the other. So I know it would be great for you all if you could help us out about following the money. I want to know, and this community needs to know, where the heck did this money go? Who was it spent on what organization? Because I know my feet are deep entrenched in about 3 or 4 different organizations, and we saw very, very minimal amount of money. And it also looks that some of these parties have somewhat of a white supremacist structure and how they spend money in these elections. And so we as a people really have to stand. When Beto last ran, the first time he ran, of course, we know he didn't win. The second time he called myself and other clergy in the area for me. I sat there and I said, if you don't
Ms. Bell? Oh, Ms. Bell, you have a question? Oh, she said okay. She said it's okay. She said it's okay. Thank you for coming. Okay. So, we have 6 minutes, and Ruben, who is El Presidente, asked for us to take a group photo just to show, which I think was a great idea. So I want to be respectful of everybody's time, and then give us plenty of time to do that. I'm sorry for those who didn't raise your hand initially. That's why I determined the time. So we have 6 minutes. Ben, you raised your hand. So
We had a discussion the same thing last night in Dallas in ACB.
okay.
We were talking about the education board, to that gentleman, the thing about lobbying and whatnot. My suggestion was, just like we have vacation Bible school, we need a vacation in civics school for to start teaching us about the political system.
We already on it. Come to the meeting on December 7th. We're gonna get you right, because the mainstream people ain't gonna get you right.
Good deal. And then the last thing, good thing, Claude, Dr. Claude.
Hold on.
Very good. That's a great idea. I haven't read it in a long time. I'm gonna download it tomorrow, and I'm gonna read it over the weekend.
We just talked about that, Casey.
Yeah. So we do have time. Oh, Larita, and yeah, I saw your hand earlier. So depending if we have enough time after Miss Larita, then we'll get to you.
And I'll be brief, my statement. I just want to reply to you said, why were people upset, why were people crying? I was one of those people because I knew probably 2025 what was in it. And I knew what Trump had said he would do if he got elected. And those things are totally against what I believe in, what I felt my community believed. And against I am a transgender nephew. I am scared as all clear about his safety because he lives in Nashville right now. They have become so emboldened. They are marching down the streets near where he lives, not because they know he lives there, but the fact that this 31-year-old has to endure these people marching down the street. And I dare to say that had Kamala been elected, if they marched down the street, they would have felt there would be more consequences than what there is. So I am still depressed. I'm not gonna lie. And the thought of what he's doing and the people he's appointing and what they say they're gonna do, I believe it. So I'm one of them.
Thank you so much. Oh, she's next. We got enough time. We got 4 minutes.
My question, I'm Brenda Land, President of the National Council of Negro Women. I have a really weird question, but I still want to ask it. And I'm asking the experts. You have the numbers and the reporting, and you watched over the years. Do you think we use the term black too often rather than issues? And I think that, personally, I think we don't have enough money in our community to keep saying black, black, black this, black this, because we need more money and more support. I'm talking about broad speaking, because in my mind, when we keep saying black, to me, we get smaller. My daughter is a medical doctor, and she is getting her credentials to be a lobbyist for veterans and mentally ill people. She has all this money in front of her to do that because that's a cause that she can take care of black people first. But the money came from an institution. So just from expert, you sitting on the panel, do you think we isolate ourselves when we say that? And I don't mean in this setting, I mean generally speaking.
Well, you know what, I think it depends.
Okay.
Because certain funding is allocated to a minority group. So if you take out the black, you're not going to get that funding.
Might be
Part of the funding will become in more of a broader perspective, but I would never take away identity.
Yeah.
So I think that it has more to do with context of how you're saying it and when you're saying it, because in your audience, even if you're writing grants or whatever. But I remember we have gone through through so many name changes. We've gone from Negro to African American to other N-word and all of that. So it's an identity that I would be very reluctant to not use, but as I say, it depends upon the context. Because if in certain instances, if you use black or whatever, then that's sometimes it's used against us because they want to say, okay, it's not just about black. So we have to be very careful when we start taking it out as well. Because if you look, and I go back to those dog whistles. So no, it just depends to me, but I'm very reluctant because that's how we identify. You know, I wouldn't want to take away the identity. I get your point though.
Do we always need to identify? See, I went to Obama parties in North Dallas with all gay people, giving him millions of dollars to be president, but he just slid on through here. So sometimes, where the huge money is, but I get what you're saying.
But why would we use black anyway? I mean, you know, we may not necessarily, how we identify collectively, it doesn't necessarily need to be a race or a color. So, I just don't know.
That was
Sorry.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody else can say what they are except black people. Literally, the gay people, I don't even help Shanita. Everyone else can say what they are except black. That's very problematic, and that's why black people aren't able to get ahead. We have money for everything but attorneys, funerals, life insurance, and lobbying. But we have money for everything else. That is such a very dangerous position to take as a black woman advocating for black people. I'm sorry, I can't sit back anymore. This is a dangerous time that we're living in. Those gay people the people, the LGBTQIA plus community that you mentioned at Obama's dinner, they got legislations for being a part of that community. Every community gets legislations and they can proudly say who they are, except black people. That is dangerous rhetoric. And we're the only ones who I don't need help, Sharnita. We're the only ones who don't do that. We're the only ones who don't do that. That's dangerous.
We always have to assimilate and we have to not be black.
Yeah, that's dangerous. And I'm a veteran, and I'm a person that, I'm a veteran, but I'm a black first veteran. I'm a parent, I'm a black first parent. Like that's very dangerous.
I would just say, to your point about it being dangerous, I mean, we're in a climate where, you know, they're trying to take black things out of history books and black things out of so many things. I think it's a slippery slope to omit black. Yeah, everyone wants to be seen as equal, but this is the United States and everybody's not equal, and we're not at that point yet, and it's going to take some time. So I think I understand where the question is coming from, but I just think the context is important. And trying to omit it here, but not there, or not there, not there, is slippery slope for people just saying, yeah, so why are there minority scholarships? Why are there this, and why are there this? So I think omitting it is a slippery slope.
And now
Hold on, this is going to be the last time.
Yeah, and now they want to say people of color. They don't even want to say black anymore. They want to say people of color, which alienates and leaves us out because you're bringing in Hispanics as well. That's why I said I would be very, very careful in trying to shed our identity as black, because that's what the powers that be don't want us in. Come on, somebody.
Right. So let's take our two guests. Now, I'm going to close out there. Ruben, you can come on, coordinate how you want to take the picture. I'm going to say this and we'll close out with this. What we often do is we try and save the world in one night. And the reason I'm saying that is we're here every month and we're talking about different topics that are relevant to our community. And so if you have not been before, then we're going to invite you to come out. Next month, we're going to finish out the year on Wednesdays. So unless the leadership team decides something different, we'll send information out the third Wednesday in December. We will be right here. And we will have a topic relevant to what's important to our community. We will get that information out. We send out, we post it on social media. I go on the radio and I announce when we're having these. And we're going to make sure that people know about that. But know that this is our way of voter education and empowerment. The challenge is people have to either show up or tune in. So we were intentional about not doing this meeting on Zoom because we wanted people physically to be present as we had our guests here present. Normally we do hybrid. We have for those who can come, and then we also do it on Zoom. And so I want to thank everyone for coming out tonight. We, everybody's very passionate, else you wouldn't be here. Keep that passion, because that's what will bring about the change that we need to see here in Texas. So, Ruben, just let us know how you want us to. Thank you all for being here.